Good evening, everybody. How are you? Welcome to John Nick's Paranormal Lens. My name's Chad Thomas. I'm hosting tonight. I'm joined by Jamie and Dave. How
Hello.
are you guys this week?
It's good. Good. Can't go wrong. It's been beautiful.
Got some rain
Doing
yesterday.
well.
Need it. So,
Listen, the drop of rain hit Route 81 North, and everybody forgot how to drive.
It's a snowflake in the south, right?
So, so we are three guys from John Nick's Paranormal who decided to get together and do this. We haven't done this part of the intro for a couple of weeks, so I figured we'd do it. We all have a little bit of experience, probably 15 minutes between the three of us guys.
Yeah. 12 for you, 3 for Dave, and then me 0.
So anyway, we've all been doing this for a couple of years. We've all got some experience. So we decided to put together this little thing and do some investigations on topics and just discuss it and see what we think. I'm going to present a topic and then we're going to discuss it and see if there's anything real or paranormal or if it's just bogus. So with that, should we jump into it, guys?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, tonight I'm going to talk about spirit boards. I think we all know what a spirit board is. We've all seen them. It's
I'm out.
Cat. Anyway, it's a flat board with all of the letters of the alphabet, the numbers 0 through 9, and the words yes and no printed on it. There's a heart-shaped device typically made of wood or plastic called a planchette. The planchette is used as a pointer. Two people sit opposite each other with their fingers resting on the planchette, and it is believed that the spirits will then guide the planchette to different letters or numbers to communicate a message. The most widely known spirit board is the commercially produced Ouija board by Hasbro. So where did this come from? How can something that is mass-produced communicate with spirits? And if it's made by Hasbro and sold as a board game, it must be safe, right? So we're going to dig into all these questions and more. The earliest precursor to the spirit board that used a planchette type of device can be traced back to 1100 AD in China. Historical documents from the Song Dynasty contain references to Fuji or planchette writing. In this Taoist ritual, a forked stick or stylus would be suspended above ashes or sand. The process involved specialized participants. There were two who would hold the stylus. One would level the sand, one would interpret the written characters, and one would record the message. This spirit writing was used throughout China until it was forbidden by the Qing Dynasty legal code. Even though it was forbidden, the practice continued and is still in use in Taoist folk temples in Hong Kong, Taiwan, Malaysia, and mainland China. Different methods of automatic writing were practiced in ancient Greece and pre-Columbian North America. These methods included using a pendulum, planchette, or other device to write out symbols. It was also practiced in Enochian magic rituals. This type of writing continued through the 1800s. It eventually developed into a pencil attached to a planchette, like you see here. The user would guide the planchette, and writing would appear on a sheet of paper. Automatic writing is still practiced today in different forms. In the class I recently took studying clair abilities, one of the areas we explored was automatic writing. It was done with only a paper and pen. The writer would clear their minds and start with a prompt and write what came to them through the mental thoughts and things like that. Several people in the class had success with this method. It's not something that I found that worked for me. Moving into post-Civil War 1800s, the population of our country was dealing with the grief of losing so many family members. Most of the times you did not know if your loved one had been killed or was still alive. The remains of soldiers were not returned to families. They would have been interred locally many times in mass graves. It was at this time that the spiritualist movement grew in the United States. The movement gave grieving survivors a way to find closure and was used as a coping mechanism during this period. Mediums did a booming business in the spiritualist camps. In the late 1800s, allowing family members to contact lost loved ones. It was in these spiritualist camps in 1886 that talking boards first became popular. There was an Associated Press article dated April 29th, 1886, that reported on the new talking board. So this article went through and talked about how it worked, things like that. I didn't even realize the Associated Press existed in 1886. So the spirit boards that we're familiar with today, the Ouija board, finds its roots in Chestertown, Maryland in 1886. Two men named Charles Kennard and E.C. Reishi both claim to have invented it. Kennard claims to have come up with the idea, gone to the local cabinet maker, who was also the coffin maker, with his idea for the board and the planchette. The cabinet maker, who was Reishi, agreed to make the device. He later claimed it was his idea, so we don't know who actually came up with the idea. What we do know is that Charles Kennard is the person who turned it into a business. From 1886 to 1890, Kennard lived in Chesterton and did a booming business. In April of 1890, Kennard traveled to Baltimore looking for investors and this was Kennard and Ricci. In 1890, he traveled to Baltimore looking for investors and met with a lawyer named Elijah Bond to discuss a patent. Bond's sister-in-law, Helen Peter, was a medium. Helen used the board in a seance. During the seance, they asked the board what it wanted to be called. Helen used, it spelled out O-U-I-J-A. When asked what it meant, it spelled out G-O-O-D-L-U-C-K. And this is one of the stories on how the Ouija board got its name. Now, as interesting as this sounds, I also found another reference that said Ouija was on the engraved on the back of Helen's locket. So either way, a patent was still in the works. Time magazine printed an article that included this story about filing for the patent, and this is taken from the magazine. A grandson of Helen Peters says his grandmother told his family this story. So Elijah Bonds files for the patent, and the patent office says, you have to prove it works. So Bond took Peters to the patent office in Washington, D.C. They show it to the first patent clerk, who says, I don't want to be the laughing stock. And then he turned it over to the chief patent clerk, who says, if that contraption can spell out my name, then you've got your patent. So Peters takes out the Ouija board. It spells his name. The chief clerk, visibly shaken, says, okay, you've got your patent. But that patent doesn't talk about why it works. It was at this point that the Kennard Novelty Company was created and began producing boards much the way we know them today. In the early to mid 1890s, 2,000 boards were being sold each week. Kennard decided to cash out and sold his business to his co-worker and investor, William Fuld. William and his brother Isaac both worked on building up the company and continued to sell the board. William, though, decided to cut his brother out of the business and ended up making millions of dollars with the spirit board. The legal battles were harsh between the two. It divided the family into two factions that didn't speak for almost 100 years. It was so bad that at one point, Isaac had his baby daughter's remains exhumed and moved out of the Fuld family gravesite. In 1919, William Fuld was overseeing the installation of a flag on his new factory. This factory was being built because the Ouija board told him he should build it. When he was up on the roof, an iron railing that he was leaning on gave way. He fell from the roof. He survived the fall, but a broken rib lacerated his heart. On his deathbed, he had the children promise to never sell the Ouija board out of the family. The family eventually sold to Parker Brothers. It was this in 1966. The Parker Brothers moved production of the Ouija board to their base of operations, which was in Salem, Massachusetts, which already had some paranormal ties to it. That year, 2 million boards were sold.
What?
This was during the Vietnam War, and again, people were looking for answers about lost loved ones. In 1967, the Ouija board outsold Monopoly. This is the only time in history that any game has outsold Monopoly. In 1991, Hasbro bought Parker Brothers and continues to produce the Ouija board in many different versions. So how does the Ouija board work? Or how does any spirit board work? The idea is that a spirit is using the energy of the participants to move the planchette to spell out words. At least two people sit across from each other and place hands on the planchette. They then ask questions and wait for the device to move. Science doesn't buy this explanation. The current leading scientific explanation is what is known as the ideomotor effect. The term ideomotor stems from ideo, an idea, and motor, muscular activity, suggesting our movements can be driven by our thoughts. The ideomotor effect says that people can move or move something without their conscious mind realizing it. In the case of the Ouija board, if you really want the answer to be yes, and your partner knows it, you could both push the planchette to yes without either of you consciously applying any force. So when using a Ouija board, for example, a person may say consciously move the planchette,
I found this on the web.
spelling out things only they could know. Thank you, Siri, for finding it on the web. The website Nerdist published the following. The University of British Columbia ran a study on ideomotor effect and the Ouija board in 2012. One test had subjects sit at a Ouija board with another person and answered factual yes or no questions. The subject was blindfolded, the subject was blindfolded when using the board, and the partner knowingly removed their hands from the planchette. The blindfolded subject moved the planchette alone, answering questions, but felt they were exerting no force on it at all. The subject answered more questions correctly than when they answered the same questions verbally. They did better when they believed they weren't in full control of the planchette. This example of implicit unconscious cognition and experiments with the Ouija board and concepts like it may end up revealing quite a lot about how the mind makes decisions below our level of awareness. And again, that was all from the University of British Columbia. So in my mind, that creates more questions than answers. Another factor that has been used to explain the experience is called emotional contagion. Emotional contagion is a condition observed in the psychological science where similar emotional responses quickly spread among a group of people. Social psychology has long established that an individual's behavior can heavily influence the behaviors of others around them and vice versa. So when using a Ouija board with other people, the excitement of the highly charged environment may make it easier for us to start to empathize with those around us. This may see us pick up on their fears and anxieties, making it more likely for us to think the planchette is moving on its own. So those are some of the scientific ideas. Moving back to the paranormal explanation of the Ouija board, using a spirit board is a form of divination. The definition of divination is the practice of seeking knowledge of future or unknown by supernatural means. The list of types of divination is long, but some of the other popular methods are divining rods, pendulums, tarot cards, and scrying. One thing to keep in mind when using a spirit board or any other type of divination method is you don't know who's on the other end of the conversation. It's like picking up a telephone, dialing a random number, and having a conversation with someone you don't know. The hope is to connect with the specific spirit. Fortunately, there is no way to confirm that connection. There are many people who believe that this method of communication is easier for lower level or demonic spirits to use. The 1971 book, The Exorcist, was inspired by a case that started with a Ouija board. In 1949, a 13-year-old boy was playing with the board. Through the course of events, the child became possessed by a demon spirit. It took an exorcism by Father William Bodum that lasted over a month to deal with the repercussions from that event. Catholic exorcists have warned people against using the Ouija board. They believe that demons will masquerade as family members to gain access and possession. The Catechism of the Catholic Church teaches against all types of divination. Paragraph 2116 states, all forms of divination are to be rejected. Recourse to Satan or demons, conjuring up the dead, or other practices falsely supposed to unveil the future. Once a spirit board session has been opened, you have invited a spirit in. Once that spirit has access to the people and space, proper steps must be taken to make sure that the spirit does not remain. Each session must be closed properly to keep everyone safe. I do not have the knowledge or the liability insurance to explain these steps. Keep in mind that there are documented cases of houses being haunted and people being possessed after a Ouija board session. So my thoughts on the topic are this. It is not a game. It is a tool that can be used by people who know what they're doing. Just like a chainsaw in the hands of a trained person, it can be used for a specific job. In the wrong hands, it can cause severe damage. Along with proper knowledge of how to use it, the tool must be maintained properly. And it also must be stored correctly. In my research, one set of instructions explained that the board and planchette should be cleansed by burning sage before and after each use. When it is stored, the planchette should be stored in a way that it cannot come in contact with the board and end up over any letters. I think there is a paranormal connection here, but I don't know if it's connecting with one's higher self or subconscious, or if we are connecting with the spirit. There's plenty of research to dig into out there, and it's all fascinating, and I know I've barely scratched the surface in this brief time. So one interesting side note is that in different times in history, the Ouija board was used to allow a man and a woman to get close. This happened in the Victorian period. You can see it here in this Norman Rockwell drawing, because you would sit with the board on your knees and your hands would touch in the planchette, so it gave you time to be close to a woman. So that's what I've got. What do you guys
think? Note to self: first date activity, we're summoning a demon.
Yes. Yes. Oh man. If I only knew then.
Go ahead, Jamie, because it's going to be a minute for me.
Oh, what comes to mind first is a story of the time when I was a teenager. I was at a friend's house. You know, everybody was hanging out, and in the living room around the coffee table with a Ouija board, and trying to make it work, and none of us really understanding how it works. And I still, 40-something years later, still don't understand how it works. But I know I had to use the restroom, which was upstairs. So I go, leave the room. And this is one of those houses that have the front and the back stairs. So after the restroom, I come down the back stairs to the kitchen where the snacks and the drinks are. I get myself something, and I start to come back into the living room. And at that point, they are frustrated because nothing's happening. Maybe they're doing it wrong, whatever. And someone says out loud, "How do we know you're here?" And at that point, I realized that I was standing next to the light switch. And you'd heard your teenage boy scream if you were there. So ever since then, I've been curious about it, and it really, I still don't quite, even with the knowledgeable explanation you provided and the basic background, I still don't know that I think this is a real thing. It was someone's invention to make money off of. It has been patented and sold gazillion times over. It gives us the premise that something's going to happen if we do it right. And to my mind, it is very much the same as standing in front of a mirror and saying Bloody Mary 3 times, or Beetlejuice, or whatever. Some of it's now become lore and urban myth. I just don't see it being a conjuring moment, bringing something through for something that's mass produced and has no connection. Now, if we get to, and we'll go back to speak of conjuring, the Conjuring House, there's a blood board there, a handmade board that was, instead of sandpaper, the tactic in the time was to run your hand over something until it was smooth. And usually that meant that you were going to abrase your skin to the point of bleeding. and that your blood would then be on or in the board. That to me has a bit more, and I'm going to say this to be funny, I don't mean it that way, but that's a bit more skin in the game. But to be more of a possibility of something, because thanks, Dave. But even there, it's still, it's not there for me. But am I going to go mess with one? Hell no, absolutely not. It's just not something that interests me either, though. As far as the tool in our field, I just don't believe in it. Dave?
Well, you get to be the skeptic this week, and I'm the one that's absolutely terrified of these things. 100%. You want to see me leave somewhere real quick? Break one of these out. A bunch of people just bought them, just to get rid of me. But just to get rid of me. The
just spiked.
Parker. Thanks to Parker Brothers and every. Thanks to Parker Brothers and everything. Right, you have to be. I think you have to be. I think the ages on the Parker Brother one is from 12 on up or whatever. And I look at it and I think, you got to be 21 to buy a beer. You only got to be 12 to summon a demon. I found one, they terrify me. I found one in my house. My house was built in 1790. I was pulling up the carpet in one of the bedrooms upstairs, found 4 boards that were the same length. So, which is obviously not what you want to have when you're putting the floor down. And when I pulled those boards up, there was a spirit board under it, or obviously a very old one under it. And I forget where we were. We were at an investigation, an off-site investigation. We're at one of our travel investigations, and a contact that's with the Catholic Church here in Harrisburg was coming to my house because I wasn't messing around with it. I wanted it out of my house. I took it out into the garage, and we had a turtle pool, and I, got holy water, and I submerged this thing in the turtle pool and kept it under there with a cinder block until my friend came and got it and just ended up destroying it. But I am not one to mess with it. I again, much like the Estes and Gansby method, to me, this is a door that you kick open. You don't know what you're dealing with. You don't know what's on the other side. You don't know what you're communicating with, like Chad said. And, whether it's a case of a self-fulfilling prophecy, you wanted to say yes, and you're, subconsciously moving the planchette without, by the way, never found the planchette. I have no idea where the planchette to that spirit board is, or if there even is one in the house anywhere, but
it's right behind you.
But the, whether or not you're moving and the calls are coming from inside the house. But the planchette, whether you're moving around, whether you're moving it unknowingly or subconsciously, guiding yourself, I don't know. I just don't like giving up that kind of control, and I don't like the fact that you're inviting something in. I don't mind going to visit wherever we go. Whatever we do, we go to boobies every other week. We go to these famously haunted places. I don't mind going to visit. I'm not inviting anything in. That's my big thing. And you have to specifically do that to use a spirit board or a Ouija board. And I'm just not. I'm not. I have my own specific reasons, but from a little kid on up, much like the way that I feel about mirrors, this is well ingrained in me. I don't know if it was watching The Exorcist as a small child, or not, and Pazuzu, terrifying me as it masqueraded as Captain Howdy while it was communicating with Reagan in the movie. Obviously, I've read the book and seen the movie dozens of times. And I have pictures of myself in Georgetown on the stairs, the very famous stairs in the movie. But I'm a believer, not a fan, horrified of these things. Horrified. I will go and sit in the basement of the Conjuring house in the dark by myself for hours. I will not get. Now we'll use one. I'll use one as a trigger object, but we're not like we did at the Conjuring house, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
But we weren't using the board. You would have. I'd have hightailed it out of there.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I also had an experience.
I mean, those are my feelings on it. I absolutely believe it.
I'm also with you. I will not use one. I've actually been. I was at a college party where somebody pulled one out, and they started trying to get a message from it, and they said, "Will you talk to us?" And it went to no, and they said, "Well, why?" And it spelled out my initials. And I didn't have my hands on it at all. I was across the room, and nobody knew my middle initial, so it was a little weird. But it spelled out all three initials, and I'm like, well, I've said in the past I won't use them. I don't trust what comes through them, and I left the room, and then it started working. So I don't know what that is. I don't know. So yeah, I won't never use them. I do believe that there's something there. Whenever a guest says that she's a believer of the Ouija board, so yeah, it's definitely something I don't want to mess with.
I think that kind of goes to the point.
No, because if you do it wrong, you're in trouble. If you do it wrong, like if you don't close that door, and to do it correctly, you are just you're letting the door open for whatever to come. No. I'm out.
What you're saying, Jay?
Well, it to the point that Dave just made, we don't know what we're dealing with most of the time in the paranormal field. I joke about this every time we do an intro at Boobies. I'd love for somebody to walk out of the wall and introduce themselves to me and shake my hand, but that will, if that ever happens, I'm probably going to drop over, but that is the reality of this. We are interpreting a lot of things, and we're making it on educated guesses. We're doing it on research. We are doing it on repetitive actions and being in the space. Luckily we're places over and over and over again, like the brewery, or the Haldeman or wherever we've been, we've gotten back to. And that to me, because of that, it gives me pause, and I'm not even on the fence on this one. I just don't think there's anything to a Ouija board, but there's that 80-20 part of me. The 20% says, well, maybe there is something real to it. I can't discount it completely for the very same reasons that we don't know what we're dealing with. And I'll be damned, it'll be the time when whatever it is comes through is the worst thing ever. It'll land on me. So, I do want to avoid them as well, just to be safe. Mm-hmm. I'd rather be safe than sorry on this. And I appreciate anyone who believes, and I'm never going to discredit someone's opinion and belief system, regardless of what it is in the field. We all have different experiences when we go out, wherever we are. And, in the whole of it, I think we're all right, because it's what we experience. We can't all have the same exact experience, even when we're in the same space. I may see something slightly differently than you did. I may have heard it slightly differently than you did, or tasted, smelled it, whatever. So there's a place for this in the field. There absolutely is. I'm just not going to be one to jump in and use one, but I am going to get one in case Dave comes over to my house.
So, Justin, the comment that's up here is a teammate of ours. He's on the Jotnick's Paranormal team with us, so it's good to see his opinion there. So we won't break out. We definitely won't break one out with Justin around either. So.
I think with me, it's the whole. I have an issue, not an issue, but I think the actual, the whole divination thing scares me. I don't like the idea of channeling this stuff through you, be it like because the scrying mirrors. So I mean that combines two things that terrify me, but like Ouija boards, scrying mirrors. What were the other things, Chad, that you had mentioned? Divining rods are another one.
Yeah. No, I've used rods.
And
Yeah. Pendulums.
Oh, pendulums. Pendulum was the other one. That you'd make.
Yeah.
And I don't like the idea of channeling something through yourself and opening yourself up to something like that, and not, it's almost like something we weren't meant to mess around with. Like, for me, I think that's where my line is drawn. And the whole of even when it came to The Exorcist, when we spoke with The Exorcist at the Diocese of Harrisburg, from the Diocese of Harrisburg, last October, 2 Octobers ago, he echoed it in a much more confrontational manner. But like, I don't like the idea of messing with forces and welcoming something that I don't understand and I can't control into myself. So that's why. That's probably why, like, I steer clear of everything that's mentioned when it comes to this stuff, divination.
Mm-hmm. I found it interesting that it actually was in the Catholic whatever the Catholic teachings
Catechism.
Catechism. That divination is something that you shouldn't mess with. So. Justin also had another comment here. He enjoys watching from a distance. We do have a new thing that Melissa has brought to the team. It's called a shunya wheel, which is a type of divination, which several people have used with her. And that's the same sort of thing. It's a wheel that's got letters on it. Dave's not touching that thing. I have not done that at all yet. So anyway, yeah. So we'll have to see how that goes. And Tammy agrees. She doesn't like to mess around that stuff. But her daughter did get a pendulum because her husband let him do it. So
yeah.
I understand your concern there, especially with her age. It's one of those things you just don't know what you're getting into. I know one of the privates we did, somebody was
with her age and specifically with Sydney's willingness to, because Sydney's been on several investigations with us, or a couple of investigations with us now, and so has Tammy. Sydney is very open to these experiences. And again, that's like chum in the water for a shark.
Yeah. I remember one of the privates that I did with the team, there was a younger person who was using a pendulum. We had gone through and cleansed the house, and he went back and did the pendulum again, and then was wondering why they were having issues again. So it's one of those things you don't know what you're opening up. And again, knowing how to close it is just as important as opening it. So,
yeah, Tammy, it's your last comment
and
too.
Again,
hold on, Dave. Let me step over that for a sec. Sorry, Tammy. With concern to Sydney and using the pendulum, I think this is one of those parental control moments. With respects to access, keeping it somewhere where you know where it is and it's secured, and then looking in your area for someone to, and we could probably help with this. Let us know where you are offline of this. We could probably find someone to help explore how to use it correctly, so that there are some balances and some borders around the use of it and in a controlled environment, for that matter. It's like anything else. We all get excited when we get a new thing. And I think we've all jumped into equipment, which is easier to do in our field and start to use it. But have we learned how to use it really well first? Sometimes it's just trial and error. And the error, unfortunately, on a device like this, or a Ouija board, or anything, where we can open a door or portal, or bring something through, the error part could be a big error. So I would highly advise keeping some control over it. and not just let it be loose in the house. Just a piece of advice, perhaps. Yeah. Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
No, it's. I was just going to reference the talk that The Exorcist gave when we spoke with him, and he gave a speech. We got 30 minutes alone with him prior to his presentation, but his presentation focused, the stories that he gave us, or he recounted. I mean, this guy has seen things I would never want to see. Like I wouldn't, I wouldn't want to deal with what he deals with. But I wonder how many of his stories begin with they were using a Ouija board, they were using a scrying mirror, they were using, and really didn't know how to, and didn't close it correctly, or didn't end it correctly, and the next thing he's being called in because they are having, extreme issues. Even one of the offsites that we did, it didn't have to do with the Ouija board or anything like that, but it had to do with people messing around with stuff that they don't know what they're messing with. And I'm talking about the one down in Marietta, and the one down in Marietta where it was a friend or whatever that was messing around with witchcraft and ended up, kind of putting something on this individual. And I probably never intended to, but that's what happened. As you start throwing things, when it comes to that stuff, or it comes to this, you start using stuff that you don't understand and you don't really understand the ramifications of, and next thing that's what you that's what you end up getting. And his name is Dr. Kitty Werben Jagerman Jensen, Esquire.
That's the second time we've heard that tonight, huh, Jamie?
It's the same both times, so it must be true.
Autocorrect on my phone already gets it. I just put doctor in, and Werben Jagerman Jensen is the next suggested word.
Are there hyphens in there?
No, it's all one word. He's number one.
So yeah, it sounds like we're all pretty much on the same page. I mean, I know Jamie, you don't necessarily believe it, but you still don't want to mess with it. Sounds from what it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy one for Dave for Christmas, and that's where I'm at.
Woot woot.
So, any other closing thoughts on that?
I think I'd like to know nothing. More. That's I'm terrified of them. Just
I still think I'd like to know more. Before, and maybe I can make a more informed, opinion later. But at this point, I just don't know enough to know that it's real. I have a challenge against the mass-produced object, having that kind of power. I'm not biting. So maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, there's some more interesting studies out there. Obviously, we don't have time to dig into some of these things. There was one that put every user. He went to a conference where they were using them. He put every user in eye tracking glasses, and where they studied where their eyes were going versus where the planchette was going, and all sorts of stuff. So there, like I said, there's some fascinating studies out there. There's a lot, so it's going to take a long time to come up with a real good idea, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Chad. It's a good topic. Really good topic.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. So, so do you want to jump into what we got coming up next?
Sure. I guess I will take this. I'll put on my old man glasses so I can read it. All right. So upcoming events, June 24th, a week from Saturday, we're back at the brewery, basically on the every other weekend schedule. So again, July 8th we'll be back there as well. Tickets are available below at the link off SavorStub and also off the Boobies Brewery website. July 17th, we're doing a special offsite investigation at Crescent Sanatorium in partnership with our Jotniks, New Jersey sister team. Dave, I believe you're going there with a few of our team members and Tim and Erica and a few others. So it's an odd day. It's like a Monday or a Tuesday. So midweek investigation should be a lot calmer out there than the weekend traffic. So really cool spot though. And I recommend others to investigate there if you can get there. Mid-state Pennsylvania. Another investigation for the public back on the 22nd of July. And then one I've been waiting for a while is White Hill Mansion. That's us with Jotniks, New Jersey, and maybe a few friends along the way. It's a private investigation we're going to have out there on the western shore of New Jersey, right along the river. So really cool old historical property, tons and tons of history and lots of activity. So more to come on that. I think we're going to discuss that before and after we get there as well.
Actually, I was going to bring that up, Jamie. Sort of talking about scheduling. We will not be here next week. I'm away, so we're going to take a week off. I may push out one of our first videos, maybe our team introduction video on Tuesday night, if anybody wants to watch that. Then we will be back here on the 27th. I think, Dave, you're up in the rotation, but we'll see if that works with your schedule. Then we're going to be off for another 2 weeks after that, the 4th and the 11th. Jamie will be up on the 18th of July. I believe you're talking about mediumship. Is that the thought, Jamie?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly the thought. We're going to have at least one guest, maybe two for that one. So it will not be us because we are, limited on our experience there. But so more to come on that one. We got a little bit of time to plan it out.
Okay. Then on the 25th, which is the 25th,
when is Kinsdale?
That's in August. I believe a little 10th, 11th, something like that. On the 25th of July, I will be doing an introduction to White Hill Mansion, and we're hoping to have the vice president of the Friends of White Hill on with us that night to give us some information to sort of prep us going into it a little bit. I'm excited about that one. So that's what's going on with our group. Let's see. Jamie, you want to take this?
Sure. Yeah, the summer is just starting next week. So we're talking about the end of summer already. I don't want to rush it along at all, but on Saturday, September 2nd, we are going to be in partnership with Jotniks, New Jersey, with our dear friend Daryl Marston, with Chris Mendance, and John and Lourdes as well. There's a couple teams that are going to be there leading public investigations of the Red Hill Museum Village and the Red Hill Mill itself. As you can see in the background there, it's a really, really cool historical property just over the line in New Jersey. Fantastic night. We're going to start early. We're going to stop at somewhere midway and have a ghost story campfire, bonfire kind of event, and then resume investigating. It's a long day, but it's going to be a super fun day. Tickets are still available. There is Jotniks.paranormal ticket leap link down below there. Get them while they're hot kind of thing. They are starting to sell. People are making plans for the end of summer. This is, the Labor Day weekend. So, get there while you can, get them while you can, or else they may be gone. And it'll probably be another year till we get back again. It takes a while. This place is pretty happening. So, really fun place to go as well. And then our Ghostly Truth show. We keep talking about this. I know. I can say there's a lot of activity coming up around it this weekend. We're going to do some reshooting of a few scenes that were just not quite clear on audio. We've got a producer working with us on this. So hopefully after Saturday evening, we'll have a whole different path and we'll give you a better timeline. But it's coming together still, and it's pretty exciting. Matt, Andrew, Courtney, and Justin are our stars there, and they're chomping at the bit to see it too. I know. We're really excited to see what's going to come out of this, and then move on to the next episode after that. So hang with us. It's coming. And as usual, the way to follow us and find us, the social media outlets of Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and more content and information as we go along comes through there. And we'd love to interact with you guys too. It's a great way to give us a kind of a check-in on how we're doing, where we should be going, maybe what we could be talking about here. We're never going to be short on topics, but if there's a hot topic someone's really interested in, we'll certainly put it on the list and see where it can take us.
Yep.
And then finally, I believe we have one more slide there.
Nope, that's it.
Nope, that's it. Oh my gosh. I feel like there's always, there's more, but there's not. So
what did you think there was, Jamie?
I don't know. I just felt like there was another one. I don't know.
So
right.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to send us a message with some ideas, hit up our Facebook page, Facebook Messenger. Everybody in the group gets those messages, so we will see them and either reply to you or bring a topic on the show.
Yeah.
So.
As always, we appreciate everyone for watching and chiming in. And hope you all have a great week, and we'll look for you in 2 weeks live.
All right. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll sign out and see everybody soon.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Good night.
Good night.